We're speaking here on Country Viewpoint with Andrew Whitelaw from Thomas Elder Markets. How are you, Andrew?
I'm good. Thanks very much, Ricky. Thanks for having us back on again.
Not a problem. Look, we will talk shortly about the problems in Northern Hemisphere, especially America, when it comes to cropping. But first of all, talking about cropping in Sri Lanka, you've put the cat among the pigeons having a crack at organic farming.
Look, it's not necessarily a crack at organic farming, but basically in Sri Lanka, about a year or so ago, the Sri Lankan government decided to ban synthetic fertilizers and agricultural chemicals. They basically wanted to go 100% organic, the first country in the world to go 100% organic. Which, look, organic's fine, no issues at all with organic, but you cannot mandate an entire country to go organic in a short period of time. And what's basically happened is that their productivity has massively declined, which has meant that they have to import more food and the local food prices have risen. And even things like a major export that they have is tea. And their tea production has dropped, which means they're not bringing as much money into the country. And this is the issue we've got is that in the West here, yeah, let's say, for instance, you're in the York Peninsula and you decide to go organic and crop wheat or whatever it may be that's organic, you can sell it into a market and you can probably make some sort of premium because it's organic. But in those type of countries like Sri Lanka, there's not necessarily a premium for producing organic. It's just lower costs, but lower yields. So, I think it's a big lesson for us all that governments should probably just stay out of markets and leave it for individual businesses to make their decision on what they do.
Yeah, I guess in the midst of a federal election campaign here in Australia, it's probably a good lesson that let farmers make the choices for themselves rather than governments making mandates of this, that or whatever.
As long as you're doing it legally and sustainably and with a care for the environment, then farmers should just do what works best for their business.
Well, speaking of the environment, it's causing some problems in North America, and it's probably stolen the limelight this week from the Ukraine crisis in terms of one of the drivers in the futures market.
Yeah, absolutely. The invasion of Ukraine is still a major issue, but it's largely starting to take a bit of a back seat to an extent, and it's just bubbling away in the background. But the other issue that's emerging, and I think we might have spoken about it a few weeks ago, when it initially started coming out, was that the U.S. is really dry. Like a lot of the winter wheat growing area is in drought. A lot of the spring wheat area that is going to be cropped just now is also in drought. And parts of Canada are really dry, where they grow a lot of lentils and canola. So I guess it's a sign of the La Nina. La Nina makes the U.S. and Canada dry. And we're still in a La Nina phase. And it's making it really dry. And look, this is something that we flagged a while ago, is that with Ukraine being out of the picture, a crop disaster somewhere around the world in one of the major producers would cause fireworks. And that's what we're seeing just now, is we're seeing that there's this real risk that the U.S. produces a subpar wheat crop. At the same time, when we spoke a while ago about how China's in a sorry state when it comes to their wheat, it starts to point towards increased tightness or lower availability of wheat around the world if this poor conditions continue to persist.
Now, on your report at thomaseldermarkets.com.au, you've described the rally for canola as a rip snorter. Why is it a rip snorter at the moment?
Oh, it's just going like canola at the moment. We've been blessed the last year. Last year we had fantastic prices, and overall we produced a big crop in Australia, so that was fantastic. But those prices from last year, we're still getting those. We're still getting these really high prices for the coming season, and that is a good sign. And that's largely off the back of a couple of things, but basically continued potential of low supplies in Canada, and Canada contributes about 60% of the world trade in canola. But also, we've got issues around things like the lack of sunflower oil from Ukraine, which is basically sunflower oil is another vegetable oil which is replaceable with canola, and so it's just meant there's this lack of supply and this additional demand for for canola. So it's, canola is doing extremely well, and it's basically all the back of supply and demand.
Andrew, we've talked a lot about canola and the positives there, and we saw the last planting season a whole lot of farmers went into canola, and of course it's always a farmer's choice, not the government's choice what they plant. But have we got any early indications from planting intention guides or even from ABARES about what farmers are likely putting in the ground this season?
Look, I think in general, from our discussions with farmers, it's hard to get a gauge on the entire country at this point. Is that they're trying to maximise canola where possible, but only if it fits in with rotations and seed availability. That's been an issue.
Yeah.
This year is getting access to seeds to plant. But I think generally, by and large, we tend to find that the discussions we have with farmers is that they're just sticking to like a planned rotation that they have for each paddock. And look, in my view, that's what people should do. You shouldn't necessarily chase money too much, because the reality is that price can change by the time harvest comes and by the time you actually come to sell it. But you just work with what is going to work agronomically and what is going to do the best in the long term for the farm.
Yep, as always, we end up coming back to that premise, don't we, in our chats, supply and demand. Where can people read more about that from Thomas Elder Markets?
Yeah, you can jump on the website, thomaseldermarkets.com.au, and there's plenty of articles on the market, and it's completely free of charge.
Thanks again, Andrew. Great to be chatting with you again. Have a good Anzac Day long weekend. We'll catch you again soon.
No worries. You have a good one, mate.